Cope Queens, episode 17, Wine, Tears and Jellybeans. Hey everybody, it's Elaina. Dating at any age can be a challenge. I think it's reasonable to believe that as we mature, learn, grow, discover who we are and what we want and what we don't want, that dating and finding someone we connect with would become easier with age and experience. Well, for some of us, that's not always the case. And in this episode, I am joined by Katti and Ieva. Katti is the founder and owner of the Powell Method and Sing Without Limit. Ieva is an award-winning author and relationship and dating coach. Katti and I share our experiences and challenges and anxieties about dating in our 40s. Ieva does her best to be the voice of reason and encouragement. And by the end of our conversation, we realized we had it all wrong the whole time and that it's really all about the jelly beans. So I hope you all enjoy this episode. And if you do, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform. That way you'll get notifications when new episodes are published. With that being said, let's get into this conversation. Thanks for listening today, everybody.
You're listening to the Cope Queens podcast, where every Wednesday host Elaina Jones challenges mental health stigmas by normalizing the conversation through sharing personal experiences about how seemingly everyday life challenges impact us. This podcast is in no way a replacement for mental health treatment. To learn more, visit copequeens.com. Now, without further ado, let's cope together.
I have been single for the past 5 years, and I've had a couple of bad relationships, and I needed a break to just get myself together. And so I really focused on my mental well-being and self-care and self-love, figuring out who I was and who I wanted to be. And I really threw myself into work, into school, into raising my daughter, and I didn't even think about dating or the opposite sex. It was not an interest. I actually avoided it at all costs. Like, I have friends all the time, like, hey, I have this really cool cousin that just moved to town and you two would be perfect for each other. No, thank you. And so one day I was just like, maybe I should give it a shot and just see what happens. And so that's when, of course, I tried the dating apps. And when I say tried dating apps, I mean many. It's been many over the past couple of weeks. I'm back at that point where it's like, maybe I'll just stay single for a little longer.
So you would like something that could get you back on track, something you want me to give you some love, hope that there's hope out there.
I don't know if hope is enough at this point.
You just want something. Okay, so the first thing I would say is that, where your attention is, where you concentrate on your life, this is what you usually get. I'm not saying that your main focus in your life has to be to find a relationship, but I appreciate that you are very busy. So maybe in your busy schedule, you'll be like, you know what? Every day at 7 p.m., I'm going to spend half an hour on an online dating site and just pick one. If you say just for a couple of weeks, you tried all these different dating sites and you're not getting anywhere. And I know it can be really scary because especially men, they put these terrible pictures out there, the things they're saying out there. Some of them, they look like serial killers. Others you can't even see. Is his elbow? Is his nose? Like, what is this? And there are a couple of things that you can do also, even in your pictures. What kind of pictures are you putting out there? You might be having, I don't know, maybe you have a successful business and you had a branding photo shoot. So I feel the pictures that are for your brand and from that branding photo shoot are not necessarily will be suitable for the online dating site because you're putting a different energy out there. You're not looking for potential leads in your business. You're looking for someone that you can form a relationship. So have a look at the pictures. How can you even maybe stand out a little bit and that your pictures tell a story. So if you do find someone that you can match with, you have something to talk about because, it's very difficult for men as well. It's not just you, but for guys out there, I know there is more choice for men, way more choice because, women are beautiful and they know the right angles and all these things. but it's very difficult for guys out there as well. And also in your description, I think very often in online dating sites, they're saying, okay, what are you looking for? And women are putting things like no booty calls, no time wasters, no someone who's separated, no, I don't know, this and that. So instead of saying, what am I looking for? Why not put there, what can I actually give you? So know different things and change the perspective. And also make your profile description a bit more fun. And say there is a big difference in, I like reading and I find books sexy. Men like these things and you have your playful side. And I feel like if you haven't dated in 5 years or so, it takes a bit of time to get on that track. But you can totally do that. And just take it very slowly. Don't be discouraged because it can be so, so discouraging.
You bring up some really great points, and it's a lot of advice, and I am grateful for it. And I'm going to share some of the experiences, but I want to hear a little bit from Katti. Katti, what's your experience been so far?
Okay. So I was married for 17 years. The last time I dating sites, to the best of my knowledge, didn't exist. And I'm someone who works from home online, whether we're in a virus situation or not. I always do that. And so I'm kind of isolated anyway by myself. So meeting people, except in the online world, wasn't really, I don't really know people in my town. And so I decided, honestly, I was looking for something to do on New Year's Eve. And because I wanted to go and do something, I love New Year's Eve. And while I was looking, I spent several hours. I live in Las Vegas. And so I figured, how hard can it be for me to find something fun to do on New Year's Eve? It proved to be much harder than I thought it would. And in the middle of it, an ad for eHarmony came up. And I was like, I'm curious. And and I think the most jarring thing for me when I signed up for it was, I met some really amazing people. I was really impressed with how they score compatibility. There's lots of different questions they ask you, and it was just fascinating to me. And there were a couple of really good matches, but the thing that was the most fascinating to me is that the men, at least that I was talking to in December, were saying, I'm meeting all kinds of women and I'm dating all kinds of people all at once. And I was like, huh? What? Oh, okay. And I didn't know how to feel about that.
Like, just so you know.
And I was like, oh, what? Okay. I don't know how to feel about that because I've always done a sort of one at a time kind of thing. And so it was kind of weird in the beginning to deal with that. And it was hard for me emotionally to deal with that. I mean, even though it was just very, like, let's go have coffee kind of a thing. It was not like it was super intense. It was very weird for me to think about, now I have feelings for this person. And he's like going off and meeting with other people. It was weird. That was one of my first experiences. That was strange. But I'm not doing that one anymore. And so then I moved into the Facebook version. And woo, boy, it is. It's a trip. And I can't even count how many times someone said, can you send me a full body picture? It's like, oh my God. I don't know. So that's been.
Like, what are you doing with that
exactly.
picture, right? It makes you feel icky when they ask for that. Because what are you doing with
why
it?
do you need it? Come on. I don't know. It just, to me, it said a lot about them. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. That was hard for me. But I mean, I have no problem sending them. But here's the other thing. I'm home alone and I don't have a full length mirror. I don't really know, have a good way to take one.
And I'm only 5'1.5", and so my arms are short, so no selfie is going to capture all of that. Yeah. I came across one guy who was like, don't worry, ladies, I'm just as tall as the same height that you take your selfies. And I'm like, some of us have to take our selfies
right?
at that
because
distance.
Otherwise you don't get anything but your nose. I'm only a couple inches taller than you, by the way.
So I get it and I'm very sorry, Katti, that you have this frustrating experience. But when it comes to men asking full-length pictures, the reason they do that is because women are very crafty these days, and they're using all these apps to make themselves smaller and make themselves bigger in places that they wish. And men spend weeks, sometimes even months, communicating with someone. And then they meet that woman in real life. And she looks completely the opposite what she was showing in the pictures. And some men do that as well. They're showing their graduation picture, and that graduation was, well, 20 years ago, but they still have that as
Right.
their main picture. So this is, why it does happen like that.
Yeah.
And Ieva, you are bringing up great points, and my logical side gets it. My logical side is like, she is on point. I understand it. It makes sense. Here's the problem. So you have so many catfish out there, so many scammers out there. If I get one more person who tells me that they are in Syria on a peace mission, or they are getting ready to lose their internet, and I am going to lose it. So as a woman who's actually looking for someone to date, it is very discouraging, because you don't know if the person you're messaging back and forth with is actually who they say they are. I get messages from guys and they immediately say, like, I got one yesterday. He said that he was in Syria, and I kind of played along like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. And he has a 15-year-old daughter. For some reason, everybody that's on a military mission in Syria right now has a 15-year-old daughter. And I keep wondering, like, are you the same person, or do they sell this script somewhere?
Wow.
But he's like, and I'm looking to get married, and I will move anywhere in the world I find my sweetheart. I'm like, oh yeah, well, what qualifications does someone have to have for you to uproot and move your daughter to anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
You brought up earlier, you talked about women put in their profiles, no booty calls and no this. It's because we get bombarded. I had a guy who messaged me, and he asked me the most vulgar thing. This was his first message of a sexual favor that he wanted to perform. Immediately reported and blocked. It makes you feel icky sometimes. It's really easy to get discouraged over
I will
here.
say that I have met some lovely people. Like, I have met really nice, awesome people, but I've also had some doozies. And like you're talking about the sexual favor stuff, this is something that I've run into a lot that's been very frustrating, where you talk with them on the app for a while, and then at some point they say, do you want to talk on our regular phone numbers? And so then we exchange phone numbers. And it's like, all of a sudden, once we get to the texting world, they become these like graphic sexual conversations. All of a sudden I'm like, whoa, we were just talking about your favorite color and stuff like that, and now, like, why did it shift into this all of a sudden just because you have my phone number? Yeah, it's bizarre. It's like
because you can't report him on the app and get him kicked off at that point.
Right. Like, why are we doing this?
Now, so again, so some of the things that maybe sometimes when I say it sounds like I'm on men's side.
No,
and the reason it is like that, because I've coached a lot of guys, and they really struggle to meet women, and they're lovely guys, and they're the guys I would never send these pictures, and I'd never send these kind of videos. At some point, I was getting videos through my Facebook of men masturbating, to this kind of degree. But these are just very, very, very few men, in regards to how many men are out there looking for women like you to meet. So if online dating is not your thing, then I think a good place would be to find someone in real life. So for example, maybe you could volunteer. I know you are busy, but maybe that could be something that you could do to go out and meet some people. Maybe you could be like, you know what? On Saturday, I'm going to have a breakfast somewhere in town. Or maybe if it's like once a month or once a week, whatever you feel comfortable. And you're going to a place thinking, okay, what is the kind of person that I would like to? Would that person that I would like to be with, would they eat at McDonald's? Or do they feel more that I care about health and I would like to have something else instead? So things like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be online dating if you have very, very hard experience, because I can understand why it can be very discouraging. However, from my own experience, all the long-term relationships that I had, all these guys I met online.
And here's the thing. I don't want to make this just about dating apps. I'll give you an example. So I have met a couple of people who were real, and I had a great connection with one guy. We talked every day, all day, great conversations. We moved to text messages, still the same thing, nothing inappropriate. But I just wanted to know more about him. And he was very hesitant or he would deflect. And see, I picked up on that. So, I spy. I will investigate. I know how to do some Google searching now. I basically found his profile pictures on Facebook with a different name. He's engaged. So it's just one of those things, like, even when you do meet someone that you have a real connection with, and I feel like he and I could have met at a grocery store and we would have had that same connection and the outcome would have still been the same. He still would have been someone that's in a relationship with someone else trying to date me. So I think my issue is just not just about the dating out. It's just dating in general. Like, it just makes me want to just stay single and just keep it moving.
So do you believe, Elaina, that there is someone out there for you? Do you believe that there is a person out there for you that you could meet, like today?
I would like to believe it.
So I think that's a good place to start. It's like with business. If you start a business and you're like, you know what? It kind of feels that I like the idea of it, but I don't think it's possible right now. So I think it's very difficult, to attract that person, especially if you meet someone and you start thinking, oh, it's not going to happen because of this. And it's okay to feel like that. I don't feel like we will be able to fall in love the way we do when we are 16 or 17 and when we don't know anything. So love is going to be different, but I still think, that there are so many guys out there that would love to meet women like you.
Where are they? It's just a matter of, I'm here. Like, hello.
But do you go out? Do you interact with people? Do people that know you, do they know that you are looking for someone? Because I think it's good to use your network as your network. You use your network as your matchmakers.
Yeah, but most of my friends are married or in relationship, and some of them are not the best at, like, I have one friend, God bless her, but every couple of months, she's like, I got someone for you. And I'm like, here we go again.
Yeah.
Because it never works out. I think I'm an amazing person. It's going to take another amazing person to disrupt the peace that I have being single.
That's interesting. I think having been married for so long, I'm maybe coming from a different place where I'm just starting to feel what it's like to be independent and on my own. And I like it, but I'm more used to having a person around and a person in my life, which I think was what was so weird for me about someone being like, I'm just going to date everybody around. And then I talked to my cousin about it, who said, yeah, that's really how this works. People date everyone. They don't just stick with one person until it gets serious. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, that's weird. But I think the other thing that for me helped a lot, I have a performance background, and I will just tell you, in acting school, you learn the nitty gritty of how to be completely vulnerable in everything that you do. And so I'm a pretty open book. And I think that has served me well in this dating environment, because I kind of have a nothing's off limits policy in my communication and in what I put on my profile. Like, I just want to be super upfront about absolutely everything I can be and show my personality as much as possible in my pictures and in my writing about who I am and the answering of the questions that they ask you and stuff like that, because I want them to be able to get a sense of me as a person just from looking at my profile without ever having to talk to me. And I think that has really helped me. But also the other thing that's helped me is having my own checklist. I did have a few dates with someone who mentioned to me that when he got divorced, he created a manifesto. And I thought that was such a great idea. And I did a lot of work myself after mine. And so I ended up creating one of my own as well. And I look at these profiles through that filter of these are my non-negotiables. And these are the things that are important to me. And if those things are missing in any way, then it's a no. And I think that for me, having clear boundaries about what I will and will not accept, what I do absolutely need, has helped me in the searching process. But I also think the vulnerability component in my profile has helped me to, I guess, attract the better people. And it's easier for me to see the ones that are no's right away. You know what I mean? I don't know if that helps at all.
That was so good, Katti. That was so good. That's one of the things, that I would recommend someone is to be very clear about the person that they want to meet. But also when you make that list, and that list can be as creative as you want, I think it's also to ask yourself, okay, am I that person that can meet this? Because some people are like, oh, I want to meet someone that has a 6-pack, but they wouldn't even exercise. Oh, I want to meet someone that makes 6 figures, but they can hardly pay their electricity bill. So I think it's also important, to have a bit of an audit of yourself and see, okay, what kind of person do I like the way I am? What kind of person can I meet with where I stand and the way I am? Because I think all of us, we have our own stories and we are quite difficult to live with. And if we are thinking, oh, I'm Miss Perfect and God's given gift to the person that I'm going to be with, I'm not sure it's that right, because I feel like we all bring our own stories and our struggles and the things that we are working on, and it's never ending.
You both bring up some really great points. And I am definitely a person, I feel like when I interact with someone, I do go into it with like, I'm just going to talk to you, see where it goes. So one of the other challenges I find is I get bored with the conversation really quickly. And I don't want to feel like I'm forcing you to interact with me. Like, I'm not going to be messaging you constantly and I'm not getting, like, at that point, I just feel like you're not interested. Maybe my list isn't thorough enough because I need to be stimulated by conversation. If you can stimulate me with conversation and if you can make me laugh, then you have my attention and I want to get to know you on whatever level that looks like. If we just become friends, if we become more, whatever that is, I'm open to. But if I feel like I have to force conversation with you, I'm not going to spend that kind of energy on that.
I feel like this is what Katti touched, and that's very important. It's being vulnerable when you are, because in a conversation, especially if it's the person that you feel like, oh, I quite like this person, someone needs to take that first step towards a vulnerability and show a bit of themselves, because very often people are trying to show that they're so perfect and they want to impress each other. So one has to put that foot down and be like, okay, I'm going to show my vulnerable side. Then this other person will follow. So I think this is very important.
I agree. I think also even saying, like, that conversation is important to you and that it has to be stimulating. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that in your intro. Be like, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone who's able to maintain a conversation. I love to talk about this and this and this and whatever. I think that's personally, I don't know what Ieva thinks about that, but I think personally that's totally okay to just be like, this is who I am. This is what I need.
I think it's great. Yeah, of course, because there are people out there that they're happy to talk about the shoes that they're going to wear. And then there are those, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like my shoes. But then there are those that like to think about bigger things in life and their legacy and their beliefs and what they want to leave behind them and, what they care about. So I do think that's very important.
I do have a very kind of wear the pants personality. But this is one area of my life I do not want to wear the pants. And I want to be pursued. And not that I am not willing to initiate things, but I want someone who's going to make an effort in that way. However, I also know that that's a lot of pressure for a guy. That's a lot of responsibility and pressure. Now, I always let them reach out first. I'm not going to reach out. I'm not going to be the first one to reach out. But if I see that it's like, every day all they say is, good morning, how are you? and it's like 3 days in a row of that and that's all they say, then I might throw out one of those little icebreaker things just to get the conversation in somewhere different. And I find that is help just because I want to give someone a chance, to have a decent conversation. But I also don't want to be the one who's always spearheading everything. But that's a way to me to get the conversation going somewhere besides, how are you?
I think it's great, Kate. And I wouldn't even wait 3 mornings. If I get 2 mornings, good morning, how are you? I would think, oh, you just copy and paste to probably other 20 women on your phone book.
Right now, with Facebook dating, I got 7 conversations going, and the conversations have been the same for the last 2 days. Hey, how you doing? What you up to? How was your day? And it's just like, it's the same stuff every day from several different people. And it's like, what's the point?
You need to grab one of those little purple things in the corner. That's what you need to do.
Like, I'm done with this. Who knew it was going to be this challenging? I figured it would be a little easier because you think you're trying to meet guys my age range and hopefully someone that has the same type of mentality. Like, I'm very ambitious. And I've had relationships before where I've been with someone who wasn't ambitious, and that doesn't work out. So I do want someone that has goals and wants to be supported and motivated to achieve those goals and, and do the same for me. And so it's just one of those things where it's like, this is exhausting. I'm exhausted.
Yeah. I think also in that area, like that's something I've been very aware of most of my life, that I am a more alpha, wear the pants kind of gal. And I know that can be a turnoff to men, but I also know it can be intimidating to men. And so that's something that in my profile, I was very, very clear about in the beginning. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I lean very much towards workaholism, and I want to be with someone who isn't intimidated by that. I want to be with someone who thinks that that's cool rather than is freaked out by it or feels insecure about it, because I wanted to be upfront. Like, I'm not interested in someone who wants me to, stop what I'm doing or is going to complain about how much I'm working or whatever. I want someone who thinks it's cool that I do what I do, because that's super important to me, because it's a huge part of who I am. And if it's not something a guy can be on board with, then no, I don't want to entertain any further than that. So that I think it's important, if you have that kind of personality, that you're upfront about it and just say, hey, this is who I am. And if that's too much for you, this is not a good fit.
But that's the thing, why for you now, ladies, this is such a great time to date, because you got this level of self-awareness. You really know yourself well. You really know what you want in life. This is going to make that relationship even better. Have you considered, both of you, dating slightly younger men?
Okay. Can I just say, okay, I'm turning 44 on Tuesday. And I have had several, okay, so the apps, like they bottomed out, like 35 is the youngest that they would send me. And I'm completely okay with that. I ended up moving it up to 40 because I was like, every time I got someone that was like young or started with a 3, it was like, oh God, I feel like I could be your mom. I don't know what it is. They're I have an issue with it. I don't know why.
I have a couple issues, and it's a couple of biases. It's a couple of biases that I have. And one, it's the whole cougar vibe. That in itself is enough for me, like, no, I'm good. So here's the other thing, is when I see in dating profiles, like, I always try to filter out people who say that they want kids, because I'm not having any more babies. Like, that's not happening. That is not in my future. I have my daughter. I love her. I'm happy with her. In 3 years, we're going to be celebrating and doing trunk parties as I'm shipping her off to college. And then I can live my best life. Like, I want to travel. I want to explore. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I want a partner to do those things with. So changing diapers and feeding and bottles and all, no, that's not happening. So those are some of the concerns with dating someone younger. I normally don't go below 38, but then sometimes I'll say 35 just to see. A couple times I've encountered guys that said that they were like 40. Yeah, maybe in 10 years. Because a lot of times they lie about their age because they want to date an older woman. But I'm sorry, I can't be your sugar mama. Like that, I can't do that for you.
No.
What if it's not because of the sugar mama, but some guys, they like mature older women because they like the quality of the conversation. They like the fact that a woman really knows herself. They even like the fact that she doesn't want to have children anymore because there are so many men out there that they're not interested in having children.
Yeah, I agree. And I did have a pretty great back and forth with a guy that was 35.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this, and the conversation was great, and I've never wanted to have kids. It is comforting to me to meet someone that does not have interest in that. But I think the part of me that doesn't want to be the alpha in this area of my life is the part that gets triggered when it's a young person, because a 35-year-old and a 44-year-old, he is asking me, I feel like he's asking me for advice, or like he's asking me to show him the way or something like that. And it's, I don't know. I mean, I know we're just talking at this point, but still, like it just got weird for me. It just felt weird. I felt like I had way more experience than he did in every possible way. And I didn't like that.
Don't you think this is so interesting? Because the way, let's say, men are, they would be like thriving on that, and they would be like, this is so amazing. I've got someone younger and she's got less life experience and she wants to learn. I find it very, very interesting.
Yeah, and I would agree. I do find it interesting. You meet a lot of men who say, yes, I love me a strong, independent woman. And reality is, most of them who say that don't. And I find a lot of guys either want someone they can take care of or want someone that can take care of them. At least in my journey and the guys that I have encountered, I had a supervisor once who pointed out, she said, you are a problem solver. And she said, you've taken that and brought it into your personal life, and you find these guys who have been wounded or damaged in some way, and you connect with them because you want to fix them and show them the world's a better place. And I just
now that's all coming up now. That's all coming up now. I see. That's usually how it is, 40 minutes later during the coaching call, 40 minutes later, that's when bang, it comes.
I just don't want to do that I don't want to I want to be an equal.
No, I don't want to.
Yes. So you're not looking for a project. You don't want a project anymore.
No, I can't. I don't have the energy or the patience. I want someone who is truly an equal in all sense of the word. I don't have it in me to be dependent on someone. I have been groomed my entire life to be independent. And I love that about me. And that's not going to change. But that does not mean that I don't know how to compromise. And it doesn't mean that I don't know how to be in a relationship where there is a give and take.
So, Katti, you've been married for many years. And from your experience, can you be an independent, strong, accomplished lady and still have a good marriage, and a marriage where maybe, your husband is not taking care of these areas of life, but he's still contributing and you contributing together and you building something together?
Yeah, that's the goal for me right now. I think I've taken this time of being single to really revel in being the decision maker and being able to be in charge of things. Yes, there's a learning curve in some other areas, but I've learned a lot from this time of the things that I need to be completely independent. I need to be able to be self-sufficient. I need all of these things. I don't want to rely on another person for those things ever again, because I got burned. And so I don't want to do that. And I know that I'm fully capable. And I think that's what's been fun for me about dating right now is being able to have those kinds of boundaries where I say, no, this is what I want. And I don't want to be with someone who's going to try and be in charge of everything.
Yes.
But I do want someone to take the lead, but I don't want them to feel like they are in charge of me or anything like that.
So you want a team player. You want a team player, not someone who's going to be possessive and things like that.
Exactly. No, I don't want. I shut that one down. I had one of those early on, and I was like, "Ooh, nope, nope, no, thank you."
For anyone that's listening that is apprehensive to dating apps, that what we're sharing doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Maybe your experience will be different.
No.
And the one thing I will say, the dating apps are doing what they can to just make sure that we are all being safe and making great decisions. And I appreciate that. And I know some of them do a really great job of verifying photos in social media accounts so that you know that at least you're talking to who is in the picture based on the profile, because you could still fake all of that, but at least there's some effort being made. I think for me, it just comes back to the fear of being vulnerable enough to let someone in and taking it's a risk. It would be a risk if I met someone at an event, whether it was networking, church event, a social event. It's a risk all around because people these days tend to be whoever they think you want them to be. And sometimes they don't reveal their true selves until it's too late. And so, Ieva, as a relationship and dating coach, how do you overcome that fear and that anxiety and just say, you know what, I'm just going to put myself out there?
So I like to give this example, on a hot day when you are getting some ice cream, you know that this ice cream could melt and get all over your shirt, but you're still getting it because you know how refreshing it is, how delicious it's going to be. So it's the same with love. Every time you're letting a person close to you, you know that you might have your heart broken, but you also know how great love feels. So you just take that risk.
I agree. If I could add to that, I would say that this gets back to that vulnerability piece that I mentioned before, where the more willing we are to be vulnerable, the more we're opening that door for them to be as well. It's very hard to ask someone else to be vulnerable and honest and open about themselves if we're not doing it. So that is an area where I am totally okay to completely vulnerable because it's harder for someone to lie to that, in my experience.
And I think also it's the intention that you have. So every time, let's say someone, for example, you let your friends to set you up, and before you go on that date, check in with yourself and just see, okay, what am I thinking? Am I thinking that now I'm gonna meet this guy and I'm gonna waste 2 hours of my time? I should have not even left my house. I should have stayed at home. I should have worked on these things. Why am I even doing this? This is so stupid. If you are going through all that, how are you going to show up on that date? What is going to be your energy? It's the same when you on your dating apps or interacting with someone. Try to take a little step back and just check in with yourself. Like, what am I bringing into this situation? Because I know it's so easy to get discouraged. And especially if you attracted a couple of people or maybe more than a couple that gave you this idea that all men cheat, that dishonest, they want to use me, they want to, they want to lie about their wives and all these things. I think it's very important to check in with yourself.
Great points that you both made. It's a learning curve. It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that there are opportunities for us all to learn and grow. And you brought up a really great point when you said check in with yourself and what are you thinking? How are you feeling? Because I do believe that the energy you put out in the world is the energy that you get back.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the things that's helped me somewhat curb my anxiety.
I think also it's in the same line as what Ieva was saying about your mindset when you go into it, that I think if we can, I tend to, maybe this is me being naive, it's very possible, but I tend to err on the side of trust until I've been given a reason not to. because I feel like if I'm going into it with a lens of mistrust, then I'm not going to have very many positive experiences, if that makes any sense.
It does. It does. And I think I'm the opposite. I think, I err on the way of caution, obviously.
I can tell.
If anyone didn't notice, maybe the difference, and Ieva, you can tell me based on your professional experience if you agree. I think part of the reason why I have to err on the caution is because I am a parent. And so before I date anyone, please no, I'm running a thorough background check, sex offender registry. I need to make sure you are safe to have around my child. I met someone who was real and he was who he said he was. I Googled him and he had just been arrested 6 months ago for violating a domestic violence order of protection. And so, no, I don't care if you changed. That was 6 months ago, bruh. I'm good.
Yeah, see, you're talking to the wrong person because I'm someone that trusts people, and I'm someone that would travel all across Southeast Asia alone. And I would go to a place that I don't know, a restaurant that I don't know, let's say in Vietnam. I would leave my things there to go to the bathroom and just to test if I can trust people around me. So I like to take risks like that.
Probably way out of your comfort zone, but this one guy that I've been talking to, we discussed intersections of where we live, so we live close to each other, and he said the other day, he was like, hey, happy Easter, and I was like, oh yeah, it's Easter, and then I said, it means I need to go find some jelly beans. And he said, well, I think you should be able to find them. The stores are open, so you should be able to find some. And I was like, yeah, it's not essential, though. I don't really need them, so maybe I'll keep that to myself. And about half an hour later, he reaches out and he says, hey, I'm actually going out to run some errands. If I see some jelly beans, do you want me to get you some? And I was like, wow. I mean, I'm not going to say, sure, okay,
Cheap date.
And then he says, okay, well, which kind do you like? And so we had this whole conversation. I was like, this is ridiculous. And so then, he texts me again about an hour later and he's like, okay, I'm at this store. I didn't find any. I'm like, seriously, it's totally okay. I can't, that's so nice of you to even offer. He's like, well, I do have one more stop, so I'll look and see. And I was like, wow, this guy. So of course he finds them, takes a picture of them and sends them to me, and he says, what's your address? And I was like, oh my God. And then I just gave him my address like it was no big deal. And, we're in this virus situation. So he gets these jelly beans and he comes to my place. He hangs them on my doorknob and leaves and then texts me and said, they're at your door. So there was we didn't even interact. And he brought me, I was like, I just thought that was such a nice thing. But yes, talk about being trustworthy. I just gave this man my address.
Elaina, are you listening?
I'm listening.
Elaina,
and I'm like,
are you
that was so
listening?
sweet to him. I would not have done it, but yeah, so I was like, oh, good. I'll just order some when I get groceries. It's fine.
The faith in humanity is restored by jelly beans.
It's all about the jelly beans.
Right?
It's all about the jelly beans.
Right.
That
I was just floored too. That wow, that was so nice of him.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't even know his last name.
Elaina would be, you what? Jelly beans? Get lost.
His information.
He did message me the other day and he said, hey, by the way, when I brought you those jelly beans, were you hiding out somewhere so you could get a look at me? I was like, no. I was not.
Through the window.
I mean, yeah.
Jelly beans. But that was really sweet of him.
Yeah. I know.
You're still messaging with him?
Yeah, I just got a text from him about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, he's nice. And he's a chef. And,
he cooks.
Can I just tell you, cooking is my favorite pastime. It's my favorite hobby. And I've attracted more chefs. It's so weird. But anyway, he was like, yeah, I'm thinking about making this dinner on Saturday or whatever day it was. And he was like, I was thinking about bringing some over to you and I'll just leave it on your front step so that you can have some. We can have dinner together in that way. I was like, wow, he's going to cook and bring me food and then leave and then we'll eat in our own homes. together.
You guys could video chat and eat.
Yeah, that's kind of what he was suggesting, that we have a little Zoom call and eat dinner that he made us.
And you met online, yeah, in that horrible online date.
The horrible
place.
Facebook.
Wow, unbelievable.
Facebook one, no less.
And Facebook, even worse.
I know.
Wow.
The only thing that says to me is good for Katti. And if that's what it takes, I'm going to be single forever. So, Ieva, at the beginning, you asked me if I had hope based on Katti's story. Nope. I was like, I have to give him my address? No, I can't do it.
I'm pretty sure that other people feel the same way as you. Like that was probably stupid of me, but you know what? It ended up. We've had some good conversations, so I wasn't worried.
Yeah. See, in my head, if I would have agreed to that, I would have been thinking, okay, well, the door is locked. I have a security camera, so you're on camera if you do anything. And then I got the alarm set.
Yeah, same. But, there is the added element of now this person knows where I live.
Well, you got him on camera at least.
I do.
Oh, you're so funny. I can't believe you're thinking about these things.
Yep.
But I mean,
you are on the security cam, sir. You might want to mind your P's and Q's. Oh man, I think he is the person that made you feel comfortable enough that you felt okay. If you had any concerns about him, you would have been like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't need the jelly beans. I'm watching my weight." Like you would have came up with a million excuses. So he's at least done a good job of making you feel comfortable enough with him that you were okay with doing that.
But then maybe Kate did all the work behind the scenes by opening up and being vulnerable, so then he could make that step with jelly bean. Mm-hmm.
He got to your heart with some jelly beans.
It's pretty easy to do that.
He's like, I didn't know what to get her hooked.
Jelly beans. I'm not even a sweets person, but at Easter, that's an irresistible kind of thing to me is jelly beans. So yeah.
See, if somebody would have brought me the Canberry eggs with the chocolate, and if someone would have brought that to my house, oh yeah, I would have married him.
That was actually my mom's response. She was like, "You should marry him." I thought that was funny.
Amazing.
I just would like to say, if someone who is listening and they have absolutely lost faith in love and they feel like, oh, I don't want to do this, I would say just try one more time. And what's that one small step that you could take? And don't wait another week or 2 weeks or months to do that, but maybe today. What's that one thing that you can do? Even if it's updating your online dating profile or talking to a couple of your girlfriends and saying, you know what, I'm actually single, or maybe joining some kind of club group where you'll be able to meet people that have similar interests to you. Just something very small.
Great advice. Okay, Katti, anything else?
This was really fun. I really didn't know what to expect coming into this, but it was really fun to talk to you guys. And Ieva, thank you so much for your expertise.
Yep, absolutely. Everyone has their own story, their own journey, and I think the key is you're really comfortable and confident in who you are, and if you are ready to take that risk and be vulnerable and give someone your address so that they can bring you jelly beans and you ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after, that's great. The rest of us will be sipping our wine, whining about why we're still single.
and dipping jelly beans into your wine.
Wine, tears, and jelly beans.
Oh, this is a great article. This is a great title for your podcast. Yeah.
Wine, tears, and jelly beans.
Tears and Jellybeans.
It has been a phenomenal time getting to know you both. And I so appreciate you joining me in this discussion today and sharing a little bit about yourselves and your perspectives and your expertise and being vulnerable with me today. I appreciate that. So, Katti, if the listeners want to find out more about you, anywhere particular they should check out?
Sure, yeah. I think honestly the best place to check me out, I do a lot of my stuff on Facebook, on my personal Facebook page. So my name is spelled a little funny, but facebook.com/KattiPowell is a great way to get to know me and what I do in my work. If you just want to have an outside kind of look in, you can also just check out my website, singwithoutlimits.com.
All right, Ieva, anywhere in particular, if listeners want to find out more about your books or you?
I just had so much fun. I think the last time I laughed this much was when I was looking at coronavirus memes. And they're really good memes, you know? Oh. So people can get the first part of my book, the first chapter, where you'll be able to take that first step and become a bit more clear the kind of person that you want to attract. So if you want to get that for free, you can go to whyamistillsinglebook.com and then please connect with me on Instagram. That's IEVAKAMB. And you can type the same thing on YouTube and watch one of my videos.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you both very much again for joining me today. And I look forward to hearing more from you both. And we'll hopefully keep in touch to see how Katti and I do on this triumph of overcoming
Jelly beans.
I'm going to go on my dating app right now. Like, if you want to bring me some jelly beans.
You got another thing coming.
I'm going to update my profile right now. All you need is jelly beans, bruh. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and catch us next time on the Cope Queens podcast. Take care, everybody.
You've reached the end of another episode of Cope Queens. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Visit copequeens.com for additional information and resources. Thank you for coping with us today.